Good morning. I know we've got a bunch of people jumping in. We are excited to have our Legends of Be Wealthy call today with my friend, Dave Friedman. Hi, Dave.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing awesome. I was sharing with Dave before we started the call. I am so excited to have today's Legends of Be Wealthy because while I have gotten to know Dave somewhat, I don't know as much about his business and background as I would love to. And Brett said that he would be just an unbelievable interview for us to all learn from. So we'll be learning all together.
Awesome. I'm excited.
Well, good deal. As a reminder, Brett handpicks each of our Legends of Be Wealthy guests based upon their current business and the trajectory of wealth growth that he sees. And so today we get to learn from Dave. So Dave, tell us a little bit about yourself, like in 3 to 5 minutes. Tell us about your background, where you're from, what your business currently looks like, the thumbnail sketch that is you.
Sure. Yeah. I'm originally from the Detroit, Michigan area. I live in South Carolina now in Charleston, and moved down here in 2008. And I was in real estate in Michigan, and in 2008, the builder I was working for completely pulled out of Michigan. And so then I ended up down in Charleston, which is the best move I've ever made. So came here to work for the same builder, and my parents were builders. So I kind of grew up in real estate, and they did some investing and stuff like that. So
you in sales for the builder? What did your role look like in the builder world?
Yeah, I was in sales, and then I ended up managing the sales team of several neighborhoods at once. And from there, I left, got into general brokerage. One of my friends talked me into partnering up with a guy that was starting a team. And so he grew the listing side of the business, and I grew the buyer side, and I think grew it to 9 or 10 buyer agents. And anyway, then I decided to just go start my own team. And that was about 2014. And so I went to KW, started learning about what a team was and building one the right way, and had some really good coaching along the way. And we've been doing this year, we're on pace to do about 450 to 500 transactions. We've been doing 300 to 400 for the last several years. And so that's a big part of what we do. And it was right before COVID happened, we decided to get into the investing game. And then we were doing this in a different market in Greenville. I think we had 11 homes under contract, and then COVID happened and the world ended, and all the financing dried up. So after that came back in mid 2020, we jumped back into the investing side. And so we started doing a lot of investing then. A really good friend of mine, Jenny, just happened to get furloughed at the time, and she had been interested in getting into real estate. So she took it, ran with it, and just made something really great. So we have a partnership. We have a joint venture in a title company. We have a joint venture in a mortgage company. We have a real estate team, the investment aspect of it. And then we also have a different company that is it's just kind of over here in left field, not related to anything else, but it's a virtual assistant company.
Okay.
And we support many different industries, one being real estate. And so that's really exciting. Half of our team is in India, and the other half of the team is in the Philippines.
Wow. A true international team, as they say.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So I love how you just breeze over a few things that I have to go back and ask some questions. So you just casually breeze through your retail business. Today, you launched really in 2014, but sitting today, how many transactions did you say y'all did last year?
We're on pace this year to do 450 to 500. Last year, we finished out at about 375.
Got it. That's a massive team. So tell us a little bit about that. What does that structure currently look like? What does your role in that business look like?
Yeah, we have we have an inside sales team. We have an outside sales team, our agents, and then we have an operations team. And so it's segmented. A lot of the business that the team does is team generated business. We're trying to push it more to the maybe 20-25% sphere of influence from the agents, but we've traditionally been 90 to 95% team business, where we generate all the marketing, those leads go to the inside sales team, and then they generate appointments for the outside sales team. And so that's how our team is made up. It's been like that since probably like 2016.
Okay.
And not much has changed in that regard. And so we have 4 in inside sales. We have, I think, like 17, 18 agents right now. A few closing coordinators. Sigrid in the Philippines runs all of our marketing. Darren here runs our outside sales team. So all those 17, 18 people report up to him. And then we have Ryan, who's been with us like 9 months, and he's just crushing it. And he helps with all of it. He came in and just got his hands in all of it and has really pushed it forward. And he's been amazing to work with too. So he's alleviated a lot for me, where I used to run the inside sales team, the marketing team, the investment stuff, the virtual assistant company. And he's come in and has really put like a lot of like great brain power and energy and like different perspective, and has taken the reins of a lot of that different stuff.
That's awesome. How did you find Ryan, and how did you know you needed to fill that role? Because that's really what's provided you a lot of the leverage to pivot and grow some other things.
Yeah, exactly. He just came out of left field, honestly. He was running a team up in the Maryland area, like Baltimore area. And he and his wife had always wanted to move down here after retirement. And they have like 3 kids under 5 years old, so they're far from retirement. But he was like, let's just move down there now. So he made that move, and we were talking probably like every week for about 6 months, just seeing if we could find some good alignment. And yeah, super impressive guy, like very fortunate to be working with him. And yeah, it was somebody that just kind of came out of nowhere. We weren't necessarily looking for that. However, it's been conversation that we've needed a person like that for a while.
Sure.
I was slowing a lot of things down in the organization because a lot of stuff was like coming up to me for decisions or to solve stuff. And I just had way too much going on. And so I was like definitely slowing down our progression.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's been great at helping alleviate me from that, so I can use my time to innovate with some other things. Like we're starting hard money right now, so we're super excited about that. And so taking a lot of the stuff, honestly, the other verticals from Be Wealthy, and putting those into place also to continue, wealth building and helping teach and educate our team members with everything we learn and stuff like that.
Awesome. The foundation, right? So we talk a lot of times in our group around the 2 tracks that we're focusing on. On one side, we have the operational business, right? Which is your retail real estate team. And then you have obviously scaled and grown that and monetized it through your joint ventures. And now you've taken the leverage and cash flow there to go into kind of the investment side, where we talk about the protections, and then we talk about the really fun part, right? Which is the actual wealth growth. Yeah. So you have absolutely hit the ground running on the wealth growth side from you just mentioned looking to start hard money lending, and then you and Jenny are doing a lot of different investments. Tell us, what did that pivot look like? And was that natural for you, or was that kind of here we go, I'm a little nervous about this? How did that work for you? Because you've had some pretty big pivots in the past, from the builder world to a team, to your own business, scaling that, and now this pivot.
Yeah, I wouldn't say part of the issue is I get really excited about stuff, right? So you have to like not get too excited about too many things and take on too much. But no, I was not nervous. I wasn't nervous. I was just really excited about it. And yeah, I think that, the retail business is incredible. There's so many benefits out of that. And I think also at the end of the day, at some point in the future, you could potentially have somebody like run it and operate it, but there's still a chance that something might happen there, and you have to get back into it for one reason or another. And so for me, I just saw like a better wealth building strategy through investing in real estate. And I can't believe it took me this long to like get into that mindset, but I'm at the point now where I wish I would have just started an investing team. And then like the afterthought was the retail team, just because the listings of the investing side generates, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So it's exciting. I love it. Like I am like super fired up about it. And
So
since
what are
go
you and
ahead.
Jenny focusing on? So you have obviously on the retail side, that's up and running. You've got great lead generation sources. You're supplying the majority of the business for your agents and for your team. But on the investment side, what does that look like for you and Jenny? How are you guys finding deals? What are you targeting? What does that look like?
Yeah, we tried a bunch of different marketing as far as social media, direct mail, cold calling. And the good thing about launching the investment side is, as you mentioned, like nailing the operations is incredibly important. And so we've leveraged the operations team, the marketing team, and also the call center team.
Oh, nice.
So so they wear two different hats with they manage two different brands. And so really to get the investment thing going, it just took one person. And so Jenny was interested in that. And so she jumped in. And so we tried all this different marketing. We've really narrowed it down to one letter that we send to the same group of people every 90 days. And we're just starting our marketing back up again. We slowed it down for a little bit, but in our market, there was, when I put our filters in to create a mailing list, was essentially they've owned the home for 7 years or more. They have at least 30% equity, and they're in the general area that we want to be in, and the price point's under 500,000. There's like 39,000 people. So what we do is we drop 3,000 letters a week to them. So over the course of a quarter, we've hit them all. And then at the start of the new quarter, we just restart the whole thing over again. And then the following year, we'll just pull the list again and then rinse and repeat. And generally we'll get like a deal, for every 3,000 letters that we send out.
Okay.
And we used to send a sequence of letters, and we had like all these different postcards that we tried, and we just like dumbed it down to this one letter, and we just keep sending it. So it's nothing like mind blowing. I think we do have some value proposition.
What does it sound like? What is the gist of the letter?
It's essentially.
Did you lose me?
Yeah, I did for a second. I think I'm back though. It is, yeah, it's pretty simple. I could actually pull it up. I think what's really appealing to people in this letter, and there's some pros and cons to it, but part of our value proposition that we offer is, we go through those. We'll buy it as is, no repairs necessary. Don't pay any realtor fees, closing costs, make it simple and fast. We'll change the move out and close date to whatever fits your schedule. And I think the big one that's helped us win in a lot of instances where we get people to call that don't call these other letters is, if they want to continue living in the home after we buy it, they can, and it says they can live there free. And so there's instances where we let people live there for like 2-3 months, without paying anything, and as long as we get it at the right price, we don't really care, but it helps them transition. I think the biggest thing is like, once we get in front of them, we just understand what their needs are. And a lot of the times, like, money isn't the most important thing to them. It's solving other problems. Like they don't have anyone to help them clean out the house or actually move, or they don't have the money for a security deposit. So they need to close first and then take a month to go find an apartment or something. So we try to just work with people as best as possible to create solutions for whatever their needs are. But that's the letter that gets them to call. It comes from Jenny. The call goes to the ISA team, and then they set the appointments for her.
Perfect. So when Jenny's at that kitchen table, right, and she's going on the appointment, and Jenny, if we miss anything, I know you're on here, you can unmute yourself. And also, if y'all have questions, put them in the chat box in Facebook or wherever you might be, put them up there. Cindy will make sure they get over to us. But so Jenny goes on the appointment, and she knows basically we need to buy this home at this net price. And we can work with them to change closing dates, move out dates, schedule movers for them, anything they need to get us this home at this price. How do you guys protect yourself on that on the back end? What does that look like? So for example,
As far,
it's my home. I'm going to sell it to you, but I need to stay there for 2 months. How are you guys protecting yourself after close?
you know, somebody had introduced us to an addendum where we do like an escrow holdback at closing.
Okay.
And so like on this most recent one, $20,000 of the proceeds were held back in escrow. And if she didn't move out by the close date, then it's $1,000 a day
Perfect.
until she moves out. And so, yeah, luckily we hadn't run into any issues before we put that protection in there. And people have been just like easy to work with, but of course that's not going to always be the case.
Yeah, we have a really similar one that we do on our acquisition side, and we've had a few instances where we do have some issues, but it has protected us with the escrow holdback too. So that makes a ton of sense. So when you and Jenny now you acquire the properties, how are you guys determining what does your disposition look like? Are you keeping them as long-term rentals? Are you selling them owner financed and carrying the notes? Are you guys wholesaling? What does that all look like to you?
Well, when we started, we didn't, I didn't know any better. I just like, I heard about burning properties and thought that sounded awesome. So I set aside like a chunk of money and I was like, all right, like this is the money. We have to figure out how to keep replenishing it, through refinancing. So that way we don't lose our financial runway. And so that was the primary goal, was to just burn everything.
Okay.
And so we ended up burning, I think like a little bit over to like 30 homes, I think it was. And then we wholesaled some of them. Some of them we flipped if they didn't make sense for keeping them. And in wholesaling, we're trying to dial that in currently. But yeah, a lot of it was either flips or rentals. And this year our goal has changed where we want to wholesale everything. And, if we see a potential opportunity that like we'd want to take down and maybe make more money on with like a seller note or a rental, I'm not burning anything anymore. After like talking to George and Brett, I'm like, yeah, maybe we should have done all that. But, so yeah, our goal now is to build up wholesale here in Charleston and then go to other markets with it. And so our goal for wholesales next year is we want to do 120 wholesales next year.
Okay.
This year we're ramping it up. Like Q2, I think our goal is like 15, and then Q3 is 22, and then Q4 is 30.
Nice.
So we can carry to next year and do 30 a quarter.
Perfect. When you mentioned something a little earlier in our conversation, and I thought it was a really interesting point. I know my friend Jason's on here, and he and I just had this conversation. In our room and in our group, we tend to have 2 or 3 groups, but you've got on the operating business side, you have retail real estate agents and wholesale and investment make up about 80% of our room. And most of the retail agents are looking to monetize the transaction through joint ventures. And same with the wholesale investment side. They're trying to control that as well. And then one of the natural things that tends to happen is our wholesale and investment guys look at our retail guys and go, well, crap, why am I sending out all these listings? This is a great opportunity for me. And vice versa. The retail guys are looking at the wholesale guys going, wait a minute, you didn't have to do any of that. And you just took a wholesale fee and you're targeting the properties that you actually want to buy. And so they cross over. You mentioned you wish you had started on the investment and wholesale side before retail. Why?
It's just the margins are so much bigger in the investment side. And I think there's it's a more simple business where like we meet with people to like, serve them obviously on the investment side and to help solve their problems with them. However, you eliminate like, the courting during like the listing process and like the photo and and, getting their home on the market and then finding a buyer for it, and then everyone's emotional. And, so there's a lot of stuff that's just eliminated because of that. So I think it's more simple. I think there's like a little bit less noise. I think that, you can do more deals with fewer people, which also creates efficiencies and simplicity.
Mhm.
And then on the like listing side of the retail business, like our margins on our listing side of the business are incredible, like so much higher than the buyer side, that if we would have started with investments and then referred the people that didn't want to take our offers over to the listing side, we would have been working two different sales functions at much higher margins than like building a retail team that has like a high margin function of listings and then a low margin function of like buyers.
Yep, you're exactly. And while there is emotion in both categories, on one side, your emotions for one party, because the second party doesn't, the buyer typically doesn't have a lot of emotion because it's an investor. And you're serving and solving problems versus the double-ended emotion that can exist on the retail side.
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense.
And it's a lot quicker too, it's
a lot quicker. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you were a wholesale investor and you were looking at building out the retail arm, what advice would you give them, knowing the retail side so well and being able to look at it, from afar?
I would hire an agent that would be obviously really strong at listings, and I would have them stay busy just making offers on on-market properties.
Nice.
And when the listing opportunities, I think they would have like two functions. They would be trying to target on-market properties and keeping in touch with those potential sellers, and then which is what like some agents do anyway, right? And then on the listing side, refer them send those listing deals over to them. And our team split for appointments that are set for our listing agents is like 15% to them and 85% to us. And I was actually out to dinner with a wholesaler a few weeks ago, and I think he was talking about his average wholesale price. He was talking about some deals where he was getting like 5 or 10 grand, or $12,000 on a wholesale deal. And I was thinking about it, I was like, our commissions on the listing side are every bit of that for the most part, so there's so much opportunity that's probably lost for somebody in the investment business where they could just make a lot more on the listing side. And our margins are super high on the listing side because, we give 15% to our agent, we keep 85. And also we charge higher commissions. I think we average take home to our team, we average like 3.8, 3.9%
Nice.
commission. Yeah. And so I think there's a way to control, how to control making more money and more margin on it.
Sure. That makes a ton of sense. And then you're continuing to monetize the same lead, which allows you then to market at a higher level. And it has that flywheel approach or that snowball effect where it keeps growing and growing. So that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. Awesome.
You've been, one of the things I've noticed from afar is you tend to partner with people who are a lot like you culturally. It seems like you're very relaxed and earnest. And I noticed that in Jenny too. And I really like that in her. How are you finding the right talent and how are you retaining them? Because I would say that's probably one of the biggest keys you've had in some success in your businesses is the right partners, like Ryan.
Yeah. I'd say it's been like some of the biggest keys in success and also like attributing to like the biggest failures too. So it definitely goes. Yeah. So, I just met with some guy yesterday that's up in Charlotte that wants to, expand with us in Charlotte. And like a large part of my conversation was in my thoughts while we were talking was, do I align with this guy? Do we want to do business the same way? Do we align with like our personal values and like company values? And, I don't necessarily care that we have like any common interests or anything like that outside of like in the personal world, like that's a bonus, but I think just finding like good alignment with people that already know, like, and do business the way that you do, people that are coachable, growth minded, that move fast, are all things that I look for. And as far as retaining people, I feel like as long as we're like hitting goals, like it's, like the rest kind of like solves itself. I think when there's like misalignments and somebody's not hitting the goalpost and stuff like that is when things just over time become more challenging and like, probably fizzle out. And so as far as like, how do we retain great people? I don't know. I think we have a good culture. We do a lot of fun stuff together. Like one of our big goal for the year for the real estate team, we laid out our goals for the real estate team and said, okay, there's 500 deals, 1.4 million in profit. And I looked at, this is probably going to sound crazy to a lot of people, but like I looked at Haley after that leadership meeting, my wife, and we're on the couch. I was like, I just ran the numbers, like, we established the goal at 500, that'll be $1.4 million in profit. I was like, why don't we just give like everything over $1 million back to the team members, and we'll figure out how to like reward like the people that deserve more will get more, right? And she was like, yeah, that'd be awesome. And so I think part of our culture is we like to give back a lot, we just like to give like what we have to other people too. Because we don't need it all, but we like to go out and make a lot of money and be successful. And so I think part of like our culture is about that. Like we do things in the community that, we don't advertise, we don't even tell people about, but like, Jenny helped coordinate like replacing roofs on a couple people's homes after a hurricane. I think we spent like 20 grand on that. We've like helped homeless people get into homes and like furnished, families' homes that didn't really have much in there, and just some random stuff like that. And so the team knows that we do that because we're always asking them for like to give us leads to help satisfy like needs in the community. And so I think that's a big part of our culture and retention. I think people are like, oh, these guys actually like really care, and I mean, we are bottom line driven, but it's not because I want to go buy like a bunch of yachts with it. It's because, because of the good we can do with it. Right.
I think that's so interesting. I was having a conversation yesterday similar to that, where you get to a certain point where your basic needs and plus are taken care of. Your basic needs for your family, for your business, you can see your legacy out ahead of you. And you have this moment where it's, how do I really make the impact that I'm looking to make? And oftentimes continuing to grow your business allows you to make more of that impact. And so while you're driving for bottom line and you're driving for growth and you're driving to get as much cash flow as possible, it's the freedom of what it allows you to then go do that's the most exciting part. And that pivot's such a cool moment in time for each of us as it starts to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And so with that, like, the other part of retention is we try to do just fun stuff. Like we just took the team to Top Golf, randomly, just as a surprise. When we hit our 500 units, we're going to take them all to either the Bahamas or Mexico. And so we try to put some like
a small.
So we try to just do things that inspires them and excites them, so like this year, it's like the 400,000 in profit share, trip to some resort. And those are the things we're doing to try to retain people.
That's so exciting. That's incredible. I think working in your business would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we like it.
So, well, I'd like to ask you some rapid fire questions, and then we may have some questions come in on our chat box and in Facebook. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. What are 3 things you would say have contributed most to your success?
I think I think having really good coaches is number one. Just I'm really good at like I could read a book, and get some like good takeaways and stuff like that. And I just don't think I pick up on it as quickly versus like if somebody were to tell me what they learned out of that book and just tell me what to do, and I'll go do it. And so that's where I like really value coaching. And so coaching with people that are like ahead of where I am and they are where I want to be. And so finding alignment in like somebody else's trajectory and you wanting to follow that path. And then just like doing exactly what they did. We'll just take it, rip off and duplicate and try to build the same operation systems and sales systems and marketing strategies and try not to tweak it too much. But that's, I think, like great coaching has been a really, really big part of it. And then of course, next is like a great leadership team. That could certainly like make or break everything. And then I'd say third is like just our values, like as a company, and like hiring to those and trying to protect those and maintaining like the right kind of environment that inspires people and that people want to be a part of, and recognizing when that stuff is maybe getting jeopardized and course correcting it. And I think that's also been a really big part of it, because I'll just being vulnerable, like I became like pretty disinterested with our real estate team, and not like really like excited by it anymore, and not inspired by it. And that kind of went on for like a year and a half or more. And like I felt like the whole organization felt it and changed. And I needed a wake up. So I hired a new coach, right, to like pull me through this. And she's done a freaking amazing job, like just incredible. But it really had to get like the team, like get me back aligned with our values, and then like, rally the organization around that and do some stuff that's gonna, inspire people and make them feel like more fulfilled with what they're doing on a day to day. And so anyway, I say values because I really feel like I got away from that myself, and it certainly has a ripple effect too.
Yeah. If someone was feeling disengaged or not inspired, what would be the key thing you would tell them to go and do in order to re-engage in the organization?
I went up and like in front of a quarterly meeting, I just went up in front of the whole team. What was actually our annual. And I just kicked it off with like being super vulnerable and just told them like how I was feeling and how long I had been feeling that way. And it wasn't about them or like anything that they had been doing. It was just like me, and then explaining to them like what I see has created, right, and the issues that have been created. And then it turned into like, but I am more inspired now, and here's why. And I just gave a lot of examples of what I've seen the team members do to align with our core values that got me re-engaged and inspired to want to go out and like, run through walls. And then we spent like the next few hours going through some exercises of, I put all of our core values up on the walls on these like really big, like easels or whatever. And there was one core value per thing. So I had the team break out into like groups of 5 people each, and then they all like would huddle up with like one value. And there was like 3 questions they had to answer and write it down in there. And it was like, give some examples of how we like live through this. Give us some examples of like what we can change to live through it better, and I forgot what the 3rd question is, but every like 3 minutes, like the group of 5 like rotated to like a different value. And so by the end of it, like the entire team had an opportunity to like fill out this sheet, and then they just kind of shared, what they had all written down. And so it was just the whole goal is to get people like re-engaged in those and talking about it. And we did another exercise about like our mission or our purpose, that was like very similar to that, just to get realigned back around like those things. And then the last exercise was like, I want you guys to tell me, like, and a big part of it was like, I became disengaged because I felt like I was running everything. And what really excites me is when I see them coming to the table and making the decisions to run everything. And so a big part of like that initial part of like vulnerability and how I kind of wrapped it up was like, I'm inviting you guys to the table to make all these decisions. And so like with the core values and with the mission and with the purpose, it was like, do we need to like taking recommendations to change them or modify? And then lastly, I'm like, if we sell 500 homes at the end of the year, like what would inspire you guys to do that? And so again, they broke out into groups and they all wrote down all this stuff like vacations all over the place, like buy a beach house in Charleston, like just all kinds of wild stuff. And then after they wrote it all down in their groups, they went around with these stickers and like voted on their favorites. And then we just picked, I told them, I was like, we can't make any decisions right now, but I'll take this home and I'll get back to you, And I looked at it and I was like, we could totally do a trip to, the Bahamas. Like that's easy, and then another one is they wanted a local beach house. And I was like, we could totally buy a beach house locally. And like, when people do good stuff, we'll like award them like a night. And when they collect 8 nights, then they take their family there or something like that. And we'll Airbnb it the rest of the time.
Yeah. Turn it
So then
into
I
a
would,
profit.
yeah. So then I took it back to them, like, just to kind of like drip out like the excitement and like, maybe a month later, got back to him about one of the things, a month later, got back to him about the other. Now these are the things that we talk about in every single meeting about like why we're charging for it, why we want to hit these goals, what everyone gets out of it. And like the why of like what's in it for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's incredible. I love the systematic approach and the rollout over time, and then the consistency and conversation. That's your leadership there is incredible. I have a lot of takeaways from that. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
This all seems to come very naturally for you. Leadership, these conversations. I gotta know, you gotta have some failures in there. What's one of your epic failures? Make me feel better about myself.
I mean, I think one of the epic fail, I can run like really hot, like in meetings, like if I don't like what's going on, or I see different things and, I'll like, if I put myself into the trap of like over preparing before a meeting, like I might start forming judgments and thoughts about what's actually going on versus, and I could be wrong about that based on like the data that I'm looking at, but, so I think like some of the big failures is like, if I'm not careful, I can be like the wet blanket that's like tossed on a group of people like pretty quickly to really demotivate. And it'll shut people down from like sharing ideas, and feeling like they have the autonomy to make decisions because they're nervous they might be the wrong ones, and stuff like that. So I've had to like really, really, really focus on that. Like I have to like really mentally prepare before meetings, and like mentally rehearse like, okay, this is who I need to show up as. So I don't become the answer man and they don't become the people that need me. And instead they feel empowered and have the autonomy to go do what they need to do, And so that's like probably like currently one of my biggest challenges. And it just comes down to like I want to crush, I want to hit numbers. I want us to win, and like I can get a little worked up if we're not on the path to making that happen. So
I can imagine that that intensity over time has shown up in ways that you being very purposeful today to make sure that doesn't happen is I'm sure your team very much appreciates that, but also it's probably the spin of why you have these strong leaders showing up.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
What is an unusual habit or absurd thing that we should know about you or that you love?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I don't know.
can fall asleep literally anywhere at any given
Yeah.
time.
No. You can fall
That's
asleep.
true. Pretty much. Jenny and I have been on like a shitload of vacations together, and like she and her husband Scott are pretty light sleepers. And they're always like so pissed off at me because we'll like jump in the car to go somewhere and I pass out, you know, and I sleep for like 2 hours, like really well. And then we show up and I'm like ready to go again. And then, you know, I'll be like, yeah, really in any kind of environment, I'm like, I'm gonna take a quick nap and just like, boom, done.
He fell asleep against a pole in an airport standing up.
That's funny. You're like a high performance machine. You're going to run hot and then you're going to shut it down quick.
That's right. Yeah.
That's really funny. That's really funny. What are some, if you were, what advice would you give a smart driven new agent or investor about the real world? What advice would you give them? And what's like really bad advice they should ignore?
Really good advice. I would say like align yourself with people that either hire a coach and or align yourself with people that are ahead of you and have been there, and really just emulate what they're doing. It's like if they wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and then they work out and then they read and then they, you know, eat Wheaties, like just do that. Like don't second guess it, just like follow the path of what of what success looks like for them and how they got there. And when it comes down to like, you know, the strategies, you know, because I think it's not just for a new person. It's not just like the work. It's also about like who you are, right? And so I think that's why I was mentioning like a morning routine and that kind of thing. Like if you see successful people doing it, just do that. And as far as like the like strategy, if it's already worked for somebody, just rip off and duplicate it. I often think that like people will take something and they like try to like change it up a little bit, you know, and try to make it theirs. And oh, this doesn't sound like me, so I would never say that. It's like it's already working. Like just do it and move forward and keep going. You know, don't slow down and try to get it perfect to fit you. You can always like make adjustments along the way.
Set your ego aside and just try it. Speaking of morning routines, what does your morning routine look like? Or what does a day in the life look like? Because you have a lot of irons in the fire, and professionally, personally, and you seem to have incredible, and have shared with us that you do, success in those areas. So how do you set yourself up each day for that success?
I wake up, I think for me, it starts like the night before. So I try to get to bed by 10 and then wake up at 5:30. And so I wake up, slam some water, brush my teeth, work out for like an hour. Right when I'm done working out, make like a big like protein smoothie with it's winning like no flavor awards. It's really disgusting, but it's like really good for you. And so I hammer a smoothie and then I read for half an hour. And I used to meditate also, but I haven't been doing that for a couple of years. But at that point, then I, you know, start my day. And as far as like professionally, and then so on Mondays I've got our leadership meeting at 4, and then or sales meeting at 4. Then there's like a team meeting Tuesdays at 10, and then a leadership meeting Wednesdays at 8 o'clock in the morning. And then our virtual assistant like leadership meetings Friday at 8 o'clock in the morning. And so that's my schedule for the week. And so the rest of it I fill with like, you know, whatever I'd like to get done at that time, whether it's, you know, if I'm taking time off or going fishing, or I am, you know, working on like hard money is where I'm spending time right now. And so I'll take on like new projects that I'll try to build out far enough that like I understand it and feel comfortable and like it, but not so far that like if I go too far and then bring somebody else into it, they didn't understand how it was built, right? So I'll just like get it far enough and then like bring somebody into it and say, okay, like, are you interested in this? This is what I'd like to get done. If you are, like, let's go. And then have them really involved, like pass the torch to that point, have them really involved to grow, like to build it beyond there.
Sure.
And so I'm in the middle of like that with hard money right now. And we have a joint venture with mortgage. I think the next thing would be to like start our own mortgage company. So that's probably next in the horizon.
How are you picking those next projects? So you set aside the extra time gets filled with some personal things, fishing, which I'm a big fan of, but you're also picking some new business pieces, right? Private lending, I'm also a big fan of that. Mortgage, all these other businesses you're looking to bring on. I'm sure opportunities are brought to your feet all the time. How do you determine what you want to move forward with and not?
You know, at this point, I'm like, if it requires like an absurd amount of people and like people is probably a big thing. If it requires a ton of people, that doesn't sound very exciting to me. So like the more simple it is, the better. And then like the more money it is, the better. And so with like mortgage, we already have a JV, but we could double our bottom line if we started mortgage, right? And so that's simple to me because I think we need like 2 loan officers.
Mhm.
And we already procure all the business, so we don't have to figure out the lead generation part of it. And it's just diverting like from like it's now going into a JV and then just divert it to, you know, a couple other LOs where we stand something up and so that I would say like to me that was appealing because we could double our bottom line with like 2 more people,
Sure.
you know, where with hard money again, it's like it feels less like the transaction treadmill, you know, and like a really good wealth building strategy and like not as noisy as a lot of the other stuff that I've got going on. And I see it more of like a opportunity to kind of ride off into the sunset, you know, with something that is like low stress, low turns, like few people, that kind of thing. And so and I have tried to go out and do things that have nothing to do with my core competency. And it's like it's been like the worst investment ever. So so I would avoid that. Like I had a client that builds like online training and she's like, hey, let's build a course like the prerequisite course for people to get the real estate license. I'm like, I'm in real estate. That sounds great. I'll be a part of that. So I like put money into it. But the reality is like, I don't know how to sell something. I don't know how to build a website and a click funnel to like sell something for $500 online. You know, so like we got it built in like 6 states and it like doesn't sell, even though we drive traffic to it. And it's like, I don't know that strategy on how to make that happen. So I didn't think that went through very well. So I think just trying to keep it aligned with like my core competency stuff I understand that's like in alignment with what we're already doing. And like the ability to maybe add like one person to make it happen, you know, and it might take them a few more people to help them. But like for me, I just want like a person, like one person that I can personally work with to make it happen, opposed to me bringing on like 5 people that are going to report to me to make it happen.
I think that's a lot of clarity. I think that's a lot of clarity of core competency, already have perhaps deal flow or ability to influence deal flow, and large profits with not a lot of people. Sounds
Yeah.
kind of like a dream.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. Let me ask you this. You mentioned part of your routine, reading 30 minutes every morning. How are you picking what books to read? I know you would prefer coaching and someone just give you the cliff notes, slap you upside the head and tell you exactly what to do, but you're still spending the time reading 30 minutes each day. How are you picking those books and where to invest your mind and time?
Like, you know, like George came and spoke in February, right? And so since February, I've read like 4 of his books and gone to like a second seminar that he has. And so I just became like highly interested in learning what he has to teach. And a lot of it's new to me. Like a lot of it, I've heard a lot about a lot of it. I've learned about a lot of it he's done a great, exceptional job, like tying it all together and how it actually like functions is it's actually one strategy. It's not 10 different strategies. And so I became really interested in that. And so I usually like dive incredibly deep and just like get obsessed about learning about one thing. And I'll just continue down that path until, I'm either like well enough schooled in it or not really interested in it anymore, like bored with it, and then move on to something else. But it usually has something to do with, they're always business books or wealth building, or like personal development. And it just depends on what's going on. I'm really trying to work on my health right now. So like, I'll have some, like, I've got some health books in the queue, and that kind of thing. So it just depends on what like piques my interest and really what my goals are at the time.
Sure. That makes a lot of sense. What is the number one book you've read or one book that you'd recommend everyone who is watching this pick up and read in the next 12 months? What's been one of the best books that have made the biggest impact on you?
I think, so I would say spin selling.
Okay.
It's a great book on how to sell, but it's also a great book on like I think a lot of it translates into leadership. I think a lot of it translates into helping you understand, like, as a professional, we should be like intently listening, asking good questions. The book helps you with a lot of that. The intentions in the book is that like it's part of the sales process, but I feel like it actually relates to a lot of different other aspects of the professional world and communication. And I think that, like, honestly, no matter what, even if you're not in sales, like, to a certain extent there are people that you're going to be influencing and communicating with. And the more effective you are at communicating effectively, like, the better off you're going to be.
I couldn't agree with you more. One of the big conversations I've been having a lot lately is, even if you're on the ops side, your world is sales, because you have internal clients who are your CEO, the other people on your team on the ops side, and the sales agents. If you don't serve your internal clients and sell them on your goods and services that you're providing, you have no purpose. We're all in sales at the end of the day. So to say I'm not a salesperson, I don't need to understand the right language to use, absolutely drives me bonkers. It's like my hot button of the moment. You get hot about certain meetings, I get hot about that. You have to learn how to talk to people. And fortunately, sales allows you to learn that process, how to speak with people and communicate effectively. So
yeah,
I'm off my soapbox. All right. If you had a billboard, I've got two more hot questions for you. One is, if you have a billboard, thousands of people, millions of people are going to see this billboard every day. What would your billboard to the world be? Jenny's would like it to be buy houses for cash, but what would you like it to be?
It would have Jenny on the billboard. And like we run, like, there's a brand for investments, it's called Your Choice Offer, and then there's the brand for retail, which is Dave Friedman team. But like the value proposition that obviously works, because there are humongous companies that are very successful based on this one thing, and it's like, cash offer, guaranteed cash offer, and so we've taken that and expanded it a little bit to be what we think is like a little bit more consumer choice friendly. And so on the retail side, our value proposition is, call us and we'll guarantee that when we meet with you, we'll bring you multiple offers to review. In addition to that, we'll have on there what you could list and sell your home for. And then you can compare all of your options that all have different value propositions side by side and make a choice on what's best for you. And I don't know how to word that on a billboard, but but that's essentially what we have on the radio. And it's what we have as our main value proposition is, we guarantee multiple offers on the first visit with a choice to list where you can see your bottom line with all variables and the values of each choice. And you can choose. So it's consumer choice. We believe in consumer choice. You should have all the options presented to you at one time. And so that's, I think, what I would put on the billboard.
One of the big trends that I'm hearing in a lot of your language that I really like is empowerment. So you empower your team, right, to the core principles, core values of the organization. You empower them to have the conversations around them. You empower your leaders to make impact into the organization. You empower Jenny to build and grow the investment business. You empower someone to come alongside you in private lending as you're doing it. You empower your entire organization to help you make the impact into the community. And then you empower the clients in what you're saying to make their decisions rather than telling people and driving people. You're empowering people is one of the main themes that I hear in your language. And I really like it. It's cool.
Awesome.
Really cool.
Thank
All
you.
right. Last but not least, what have you bought for around $100 that has made the biggest impact or is really a cool thing we should know about? $100-ish. With inflation, it could be 120.
I was using an app to like that had workouts on it. And so I called one of my friends who's like a big health nut and asked her about hiring a health coach and like a fitness coach. And she was like, she's like, talk to my friend Jordan. So Jordan can help you. And it's like literally $15 a month. And there's an app that's got like all the workouts on it. I put everything that I eat into it. And then I take like measurements, pictures, the whole thing. And once a week, she reviews it all. She knows my goals. She reviews it all and then gives me feedback on what I need to be doing differently. And I can ask her like, hey, I don't like these workouts are like whatever. They don't jive with what I like to do, or like I'm having trouble like finding that much protein in my diet or whatever. And so she'll recommend different things and she makes adjustments to it. Like every other week, she's making adjustments to my macros to get me. She like started me in one area. Now she's like working me towards where I need to have them to have a six pack is the goal. And so, and the thing I value the most is like, I've got somebody that is going to hit me up weekly and be like, what are you doing? Like 3,700 calories on a Saturday is not going to help you get to a six pack. Okay.
It might be from drinking a six pack, but it's not going to get you.
Yeah. So, so she's like, just hammering me like, you got to be consistent with your macros, your workouts, the water intake, your, nutrients that you're taking from your body. And so just having somebody that I know is going to like, be hard on me about it. And I told her, I was like, be really hard on me about it, and for like $15 a month, I think it's like a freaking bargain, right? And I don't understand why it's only 15. I'm like waiting for the shoe to drop and get a huge bill in the mail.
That's awesome. I love it. You have this really cool way about you where your outward demeanor, you really have the swan effect of this outward demeanor of a casual, genuine, peaceful portrayal of who you are. And then it's so fun to peel back the layers and see the little bits of crazy intensity that you have that have clearly been a big piece, that combo that has got you, that has helped you to achieve where you are today. So thank you so much for letting us peel back some of those layers and learn more about you and all your success. And you've given me 3 or 4 big takeaways that I'm going to go implement right away. So thank you, my friend.
Nice. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. I got to know the fishing. What are we fishing for? Are we fly fishing or are we using spin rods? What are we doing?
I do it all. Like I live on the water here in Charleston. We have a boat. We go offshore fishing for like wahoo and tuna and mahi, and we'll hit like the reefs and the wrecks and go bottom fishing, or inshore trout, reds. My wife and I just drove to the mountains last weekend. It's like 4-hour drive, and we went fly fishing in North Carolina. And so I like it all. I don't discriminate against it.
Man, I am unbelievably jealous. So I think I'm going to have to move closer to you. All right.
Well, come on and visit. We'll go out.
I definitely will. We'll talk to you soon, Dave. Bye, everybody. Thanks so much.
Bye. Thank you.